welcome to Creepy Conversations. You guys already know. You probably pressed this on your podcast listening app.
Our brains
Right?
don't work anymore. Like it's fried more than usual right now, so shit doesn't make sense, but it's fine. We're gonna power through this.
Yeah, we're double recording. I already explained this in Patreon, but we're double recording because I won't be available next week. So yeah. Also, it's in the afternoon. Every time we're recording, it's not right.
It starts like late afternoon to evening, so whenever we do our recordings at that timing, it's like, yeah, it's fucking shit. By the way, I'm Nikki.
Yeah, and I'm Kalai. If you can't, tell the difference between our voices, it's on you.
Yeah, that's on you, because we sound so different.
Yeah. By the way, we're gonna continue our spooky October. I know this episode won't come out in October, but we're recording this in October, so we're feeling our spookiness.
I thought you were gonna say October one more time because I'd be like, take a shot every time she says October.
Hey, let me do that.
I love it.
Anyway, we're going to be covering ghost stories in Cambodia. And we got our source from... Our source? From... I don't know how to talk anymore. From No Sleep Reddit. I'll start with the first one. By the way, trigger warning, this has self-harm in this story. So, y'all get your skip buttons ready. The title of this one is Holiday in Cambodia. The poster deleted her account, so I can't see their name. So yeah, I'm writing this post because I've exhausted any other means. The internet is my only hope. I've spoken to doctors, therapists, and psychologists. I've spoken to my parents and my friends and even to some strangers. The way they react when I tell them the story, it's as if they think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy, but more than anything, I'm afraid. I need help before something happens. And if no one helps, something will happen. I need someone to believe me because I'm not sure how long I have left. So I will tell you the story and beg that you bear with me through the end. And please don't denounce me as a madman halfway through, no matter how strange and unnerving it gets. It will get very strange and extremely unnerving before I'm done. So without getting into too many details, I've been traveling around through Southeast Asia for the past 3 months. Most recently, I made my way into Cambodia, and 3 days ago, I arrived at its crowning jewel, Siem Reap. I've been to this place. I still don't know how to pronounce it because the locals pronounce it. They all say it differently. They say a Siem Reap, and then I've heard them also say Siem Reap. So, I feel like it's the first one.
Let's go with the easiest.
Anyway, yeah, home to the legendary temples of Angkor Wat. So that's where Tomb Raider was filmed in Angkor Wat. My first night here was a wild ride. I drank quite a lot and ended up stumbling out of a dance bar with a girl. She had thick brown curls and wild green eyes. By then, this was after an hour of dancing with her. I remember I'd forgotten her name. "What's your name?" I asked. "Dina," she said. She was even drunker than me, and she kept tripping on her own feet. She was the most attractive woman who had ever answered my advances, and I was excited to get her to my room. Eventually, we arrived. We fell on the bed, kissed. She ripped my shirt off, and I quickly unbuttoned hers. We rolled out the bed and kissed until we were both naked. Sorry, I didn't know there was going to be this part. This is what I get for skimming stories.
I was kind of hoping that he would just say they got in his room and that's it, but I wasn't expecting it to be like a smut novel or something. We should have, like, this is actually an R-rated episode and we just found out.
Yeah, in the middle of the episode. So yeah, then we had sex. Very angry and passionate sex. She grunted as we fucked like a beast. In hindsight, I should have spotted the red flag right away, but as I was fucking her, this only got me more passionate and aroused.
Wait, where is the red flag though?
The grunting and shit.
So
I don't know.
Are not
maybe
the noise now.
Yeah, maybe the. Anyway, look. He said we weren't supposed to judge him. She went to sleep shortly after we were done, but I was wide awake for a long time in deep thoughts. And then, in total darkness, she started speaking to me. "You should come with me," she whispered. "Come with me to the temple." I didn't understand what she was talking about. Her eyes were shut, so I knew she was either pulling a prank or talking in her sleep. "What did you say?" I asked. Her voice was rough, rusty even, very different from the cheery chimes of before. "Tomorrow we will go to the temple, and you will come inside, won't you?" "Which temple are you talking about?" I said. "She killed him there, the one before her. His blood was pouring into the earth, but he was laughing. Is that what you want to hear?" She said. "Hey, what the hell are you talking about, Dina?" She started chuckling, and in the dark, her teeth appeared rotten and sharp. I shook her, and she woke up in a startle. Suddenly, she was beautiful again, and her voice was sweet. "Oh, what happened? Is everything all right? You were talking in your sleep. Something about a temple, about killing. You must have had a nightmare, so I pulled you out of it. Are you all right?" I think so," she said. "Do you remember the dream?" "No." She grew pale and silent. "Did I scare you?" she said. "Just a little bit," I said. "I've been talking in my sleep since I was a little girl. It creeps everyone out. Some guys can't handle it," she said. "I'm not some guy," he said, kissing her on her lips.
Oh my god, why is this? I'm so...
Look, let's just push through, okay?
It's
He's
like
a storyteller.
We're already here. It's too late. But also,
let's just...
I feel like we're reading a fan fiction.
Yeah, but let's just appreciate that whoever wrote this was like a storyteller and wanted to like...
No, it's pretty good. I just didn't expect this to be like podcast material accidentally.
Yeah. So yeah, he said, "Now let's sleep. We're still planning on taking a bike. Tomorrow it'll be a long day." Yeah, it's very hot in Angkor Wat. So if you are just riding through it in a bike, the other temples are far away from each other, so it is a bit tiring. But yeah, also it's better to ride a bike because my Pano and I got like scammed because of the tuk-tuk driver. Anyway, we went to sleep. We slept until the alarm clock forced us awake, and then we ate a quick breakfast. Dina was truly sweet, funny, and charming girl with a natural charisma, and also very beautiful. I was so proud of myself for getting together with her, and so happy we were traveling together, for the moment at least. The plan was quite simple. Take a bike, just one, and drive freely around the countryside. Hug together, telling stories, enjoying the sights, and listening to music. The general direction would be Kulin Mountain, which supposedly offered some sightseeing and attractions. The drive itself would take most of the day, as the mountain was almost 2 hours away on uneven Cambodian roads. I think the bike that he means is like motorcycle, because there's no way you'd be like riding a bike towards a mountain.
That's mostly it. Because, like, they would usually call a motorcycle a bike anyway. So I guess.
Yeah. That's what he meant. Yeah, because maybe I feel like he would say bicycle if he meant the bike that we were thinking about.
Okay, so let's all agree that this is a motorcycle. The bike equals motorcycle.
Yeah. So we got our bike and set up. Yeah, because you also can't. 2 people can't ride a fucking bicycle.
If there was a basket in front, she'd be like sitting on it, like a very painful ride the whole time. But hey, whatever, he wants to cuddle.
Yeah. So let's just assume this is a motorcycle because ain't no way they're gonna drive 2 hours with just one bicycle. So we got our bike and set off. She played funky music in my ears and listened to my life story as we rode. We drove past pastoral green rye fields. I think he meant river fields. What does rye mean?
I have no idea. It's probably a name of a place.
Probably rice, or I think he meant green rice fields.
That could be it. That's a typo. C and B are like right next to each other. Let's take it as a typo.
We are like deciphering his story.
This is Tomb Raider shit with a side of
and
Dan Brown.
Villages far from the eyes of civilization. The mountain arrived sooner than we thought, and we climbed it speedily. It was nearly 5 in the afternoon when we turned back, an hour before the sunset. 5 in the afternoon? I feel like that is sunset time in Southeast Asia.
That depends.
I don't know. Yeah, because, right, in Singapore, it's totally different. Right. The drive back was quiet, and I noticed immediately that there was something in Dina's eyes. Something different. As I was driving, she was in charge of navigation. She insisted that she was taking us through a shortcut this time, though it appeared to me we were going the wrong way. 20 minutes later, unsurprisingly, we were lost. Our bike was on a dirt road with woods to either side, and the nearest village, in itself not a pinnacle of civilization, was over 5 minutes away. So I stopped the bike. "Can I have a look at your phone?" I asked, not unkindly. "No," she said. "I just want to see the map. This feels wrong to me." "Don't you trust my navigating skills? I took you to the mountain, no problem." The way she said it, she appeared mad. I didn't want her to be mad. I like her a bit too much. So we drove onwards, deeper and deeper into the woods. She played uppity tunes in my ear with her phone. I found it weird how well she knew the way, as her phone was always pressed against my ear, spewing music throughout the entire drive. Driving in itself was becoming harder and harder as the road grew bumpy and gravelly. The sun was setting, and my flickering headlight could not quite show me the way. I was beginning to feel that driving through there was unsafe, as she ordered me past lefts and rights deep into the jungle. So again, I stopped the bike. "What are you doing?" she asked me. "You're not watching the phone. We're lost. We have to be. Let me see the map." "Calm down," she said. "Just let me see." "I'm not using the phone," she snapped. "I know the way." "Know the way? What do you mean? You know the way." I was red-faced and angry and also afraid. "We're in the middle of fucking nowhere. I can't drive on this road." She turned around, her curly hair falling down her back. Long, strangely long. She spoke in a cracked, weak voice, almost alien. "I've been here before." "Here? There's nothing here, Dina." She stood so still she might have been a statue, and then she spoke again in the same terrifying voice. "That's not true. Let's get out of here, Dina. Let's get back to the highway, to the city." She did not answer or say a thing. She was a statue, unmoving. Seconds passed and my heart was racing. I took a hesitant step towards her, and then she started shaking. Her head was still straight, but her limbs wobbled, and her curly hair jumped out. "Dina!" I grabbed her by the shoulder, and she froze again. When she turned to me, her face was smiling, and her white teeth seemed to swallow away the darkness. They were much bigger than I remember. She didn't appear to have a strong jaw until that point. I think she was hiding it with makeup and an odd positioning of her head, but now looking at her, it was plain she had always been that way. I need to look around. The moment she said it, she walked past me and bumped into my shoulder. Her voice was rough and rusty. Once again, very different. I swear this is true. You have to believe me. That woman was off. Either she had a case of multiple personalities or something got into her. As crazy as that sounds, I don't know how anything else can explain it. Stop, Dina. I chased after her into the forest, leaving the motorbike behind. He finally said motorbike.
Now things make sense.
She was walking very quickly, almost running. Power walking. Dina! And now she was really running, and I was chasing after her. But I was faster and caught her in my arms. She screamed and broke free. Let me go. What's gotten into you? What's happening? I'm fine. I have to see it again. You don't understand. You think I'm crazy. You think he could still be here. I could find him. She sounded normal again. For the first time since we got lost, she was the girl I fell for. Fell so quickly. I hugged her. Calm down. Everything's all right. He scared me a bit over there. That's all. I'm scared too. I'm so sorry.
I can't think. I'm so full of air right now. Like, I can't. Excuse. I can't take this.
I don't know why I started doing that again. This is how I read books. So that's why I feel like
Me too. Actually,
it leaked out.
I have voices for the characters. Where is my tissue? I'm crying. Oh my god.
Sorry, let me continue. Why? I'm like ruining the moment. I'm so sorry.
No, but
why?
Also, like, I thought we were going for, like, horror stories, but it feels like a romance novel with a side of thriller.
Yeah. Yeah, this is our flavor today. Jesus. Why? What is this place? What do you remember? Her face grew pale. Something bad happened here. She touched the nearby tree, her eyes glossy with tears. I remember these trees, and I remember this rock and that stream. I've been here before. It wasn't a dream. I'm sure it wasn't. Then, isn't it a bad idea to go back? She shook her head. I have to see it again. I need to know that it's real. She turned around and walked onwards. I followed her. Stupid man that I was. I should have turned around then. I should have dragged her to the bike and driven away. I should have, but I didn't. So I followed like a sheep led to the slaughter. Within minutes, we found it, and she gasped with joy. Oh, this is it. This is the temple. She jumped up and down, and as I stepped out from among the bushes, and truly the temple was majestic, unlike any I have ever seen. Its walls caught the faint moonlight and the silvery shine, as though it were painted silver, carved into the 3 tall spires, and all of them in perfect condition. It was large enough to stand alongside the rest of the temples in the complex of Angkor Wat, but there were no tourists here. How did you find this place? Isn't it magnificent? She asked excitedly, entirely ignoring my question. That alien face again, that smile and that jaw, the eyes flickering like a flame. In the middle of the night, as she slept, Dina talked about a temple, about murder that happened there. and only then did I remember it. Dina, you're scaring me. What the hell is happening? Jesus Christ. Her smile vanished. She spoke in a rusty voice. No Jesus in here. I was legitimately frightened by her. At this point, my every instinct told me to run away, but I ignored every instinct. I was an idiot, and I will never forgive myself for it. Okay, now we've seen the place. I think it's time to go. It's already dark. She was frowning, a terrifying frown. Her eyes were glittering in the night, like embers of a dead fire. Pale as a phantom, she was frightening, and she said, in that terrible rusty voice, I'm not leaving. By now my heart was racing, but I was frozen in place. I'm going, Dina. I can't stay in this place. It feels evil. Please come with me. She became kind again. I'm going inside. You have to see it. Inside, it's beautiful. Don't go in there. I won't let you go in there. He's waiting for me. He could still be alive. She shook her head and walked backwards, and there were tears running down her cheeks. I took a step towards her, and she ran quickly towards the entrance. I caught her by her arm, and she freed herself from my grip aggressively. I lunged forward, matching her strength, and caught her both in my hands. She squealed like a demon, and then bit down on my arm. The pain that came from the bite was merciless. I can still feel her teeth, and the scar isn't healing. Large teeth, sharp and rotten. There was nothing natural about it. As she bit down on me, I screamed with pain. I felt it inside me burning. I pushed it away and felt her sharp teeth graze my skin. Her hair was messy, shaggy like the fur of a wild beast, and her eyes glowed. She growled at me and unsheathed a knife. It was a knife of silver stone, inscribed with runes. It looked as though it had been carved of the same stone as the temple was, as though it had been found there. And so the knife slashed at me and cut me clean across the chest. Immediately I felt like I was burning. The bite and the knife both affected me. There was something on that knife, some kind of chemical. I had too much adrenaline, and I was too much in danger to recognize the pain. And so I fought. Her next slash, I dodged. The one after that as well. The next time, she came for a stab, and I caught her in my arms. Her hand shook, and she ground her teeth in effort. And that was when I punched her and twisted the knife out of her grip. Calm down, calm down. But she wasn't done. She lunged again, this time with her nails, scratching me, coming in for another bite. She no longer appeared human. She was a monster. I would have left.
I would have same, like, okay. I would get it if you guys were together, if this was your girlfriend, like, fine, I'm invested. But you literally just saw this woman for a one-night stand, most likely, and then you're here about to get murdered, but you're like, no, I gotta save her.
Dude, he already did say, though, that don't judge me and shit. Like,
yes,
maybe
but we have been doing that since, like, the first minute into the story.
I feel like he also, like, got scared. Like, should I leave her? Like, she's a girl. Like, I'm not supposed to leave girls in the middle of nowhere. Like, maybe that was what was in his head.
But, like, said girl is trying to kill you.
Kill him. Yeah. You know what? Let's finish the story.
There should be some sort of disclaimer or, like, a clause in there. Like, no, you can't leave a girl in the middle of the woods. However, if she bites you and stabs you, then
leave her.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And in the heat of the struggle, the silver knife slid into her chest. I never planned for it to happen. Okay, see, now I get it why he didn't leave, because in his subconscious he probably was like,
I gotta kill her.
Bitch. I never planned for it to happen. It was pure instinct that made me raise the knife in self-defense, and she lunged right into it. She pierced her own heart on the blade perfectly, almost as though it was on purpose. Dina! No! She fell on her back, and upon inspection, I found her smiling. She was smiling. She was blissful and got exactly what she wanted. The voice was still not her own. Come inside the temple, boy. Come quickly. I want to speak to you. Dina, please. Dina isn't here anymore. Do you see the gates, boy? Step inside. Dina will be waiting there with the others. Join them. Dina, please stay with me. Don't die. Don't die.
I swear to God, I can't take this story seriously.
Blood, so much blood. And she was laughing, her white teeth shining red with the sheen of blood. I will never stop, she whispered. Not until you come inside. Not until you're mine. And then abruptly, she seemed to die. At the time, I was sure of it. I was sure I killed her. And I was panicking and sad and guilty, but I was still afraid. I still felt unsafe. The wind blowing through the walls and towers of the temple seemed to speak to me, to call them my name. The gargoyles appeared to be looking right at me, men with the faces of demons. I had to get out of there. So I ran, leaving her body. This is what you should have done in the first place. So I ran.
I think she would have survived, like, if he just left. Like,
I feel like the temple was, like, really calling her.
No,
she was
but
meant to die in that temple.
Yeah, but at least it wouldn't be because of him.
Yeah, right. So I ran, leaving her body warm on the ground. Just like that, I left her. I'm such a big coward. I should have taken her body with me. I should have saved her, but I left her there just outside the temple to die. And I ran back towards the road and the bike and then sped to the highway and the nearest police station. Only there did I feel safe again. I fell on my knees and broke down crying. I told the officers what had happened, hoping beyond hope that they understood what I was saying. In response, they loaded me up to the nearest convertible and drove me back along where we came. They knew of the temple I described and heard stories. They knew where to find it. We were driving the same roads and walking the same forest. It all felt exactly right, but when we reached the clearing, the temple was gone. In its place, there was a mound of rubble, crumbling gray rocks overgrown by weeds, almost unnoticeable along the forest floor. The place was a ruin. This can't be. It can't be. Don't you understand? I yelled at them. We have to find her. We have to retrieve her body. The officer spoke in perfect English. This temple is called Wat Pisak, the Temple of Demons. It was once beautiful and tall and made of silver stone, with 3 large towers climbing up above the canopy, just the way you describe. The villagers would come here to lay their alms, their offerings and sacrifices, but only when the gods were unkind to them in hopes to make amends. This is the temple you described, but as you see, it was destroyed long ago. The villagers could not contain its evil. There are no temples around here. Not here. It can't be. There has to be another one. She's not here, and she could be dying somewhere. We kept looking around the dry leaves for any possible sign. And there I found a knife in a bed of dried leaves glowing silver. It was there, right there where I killed her. But the knife wasn't stained, and there was no pool of blood at its foot. The body was nowhere to be found. Look, I shouted to the cops. Look, this was her knife. She slashed me with this, and then The policeman got startled. Hide that thing away. It's not for us to see. What do you mean? This is evidence. Evidence this investigation is over. We're leaving now, so throw that knife away and forget about it. They climbed into the car and started the engine. I slipped in, all hazy and terrified. Dina was out there somewhere, in need of help, and I just gave up on her so quickly. The knife was real. Israel, still in my pocket even now. I kept it as proof. Proof of the temple and proof of her. This guy. If I lose it, that means none of this ever happened. But for now, I know the dagger is real, and this really happened to me. The police took me back to the station. They sat me on a chair in their office and made some angry calls. Eventually, they received a call of their own and back to me. Are you sure her name is Dina Malay, not something different? I'm sure. The police shook his head. No woman is registered in our country. Her passport hasn't been used here. I've been trying to locate her ever since, with no success. I should have added her on Facebook when we met, but I didn't, and now I never will. And even when I scanned through the internet on my own, through Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, I found nothing. No hint she had ever existed in the first place. Only her memory remained. The memory of her long, curly hair, her bright green eyes, her charming smile. The smile that won over me in an instant. She exists. She has to be real. You have to believe me. I have proof. I have the night and the bite marks and the wound on my chest. A scar slowly growing black. Still burning with a fever. Very real, just like her. And we made love. And I killed her. I know I killed her. With my own hands. And with this knife. But I have to find her body. Stop laughing.
This is why we can never be in a relationship, because we can't take shit seriously.
Jesus. To find out who she was, at least. What happened to her. I can't live like this. Thinking I'm crazy. Thinking I made it all up. That my feelings for her were a figment of my imagination. I can't and won't believe it. My parents told me to come home. They're very worried, but they still don't believe me. I can still hear it in their voices. They think I've gone mad. Therapists and doctors I called were similarly skeptical. They think I'm making a story up to gain their attention. They think I've cut myself across the chest and bit myself. They're all telling me to go home. I bought a ticket for the day after tomorrow, a flight from Siem Reap directly home, to leave this godforsaken place behind me. 2 days is all I have left, but I feel like it might be too long. Like I might not make the flight at all. I'm losing time. Sometimes I doze off and wake up in places I don't remember walking into. Twice already, I found myself in the jungle with no bearings on where I am and where I was headed. I once woke up in a girl's bed and she told me I was talking in my sleep about a temple. I didn't even recognize the girl, except that she wasn't her. I ran away, the situation feeling all too familiar. The knife is still with me. Always. So I know it's real. So I know I'm not going mad. And I'm afraid. I'm not just losing time. I'm slowly losing control. Not just of my life, but of my body. I'm so damn scared. I'm shaking. 2 whole days. A very long time. I can't go home like this. Last night I had a dream. I was in the temple dancing with Dina. We were both laughing, me and her, and there were many others dancing around us. When I woke up in the morning, I was sure it was real, and now I'm sure she's alive. If her body wasn't there and there was no blood, it could only mean she was alive. And if she's alive, I have to try finding her. I can't leave her there alone in that terrible place. But I'm afraid. I don't want to go back there to the evil place, that evil and beautiful place, the place which I can't get out of my mind. When I close my eyes, I still see it, even now, sparkling silver, colossal, and menacing. I can hear the temple's voice like the sound of the wind whispering my name. I cling to the knife like I cling to my life. It's with me everywhere I go. It's my anchor, but also proof of my fears. I need help, real help, from someone who understands, from someone who believes me. If I don't get any, I think I have to look for her. I will have to go back to the temple and search. 2 whole days until the flight. 2 long days. Yes, I'll think I'll do it. I'll go, but I can't do it alone. You know what? Just go home.
Where is he from again?
He didn't say. Also, not saying that I don't believe you, but all I can say is that just go home, man. Like, you might end up trapping somebody else. You know, if this was real, you might Dina someone else, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like he should talk to a doctor or something.
he did.
No, like second opinion and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's getting in the way of his, like,
Life.
regular life. Yeah. And also, I'm questioning the police. Because if you have someone like a random stranger come up and say, these are the things that happened. Someone tried to stab me and blah, 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 but I killed them. I would expect him to be in jail or something.
But they can't find the body. So they can't jail him without evidence.
True, but also they didn't even try to look for a culprit, because if he had scars and all that shit, that's like harassment, that's violence, that's abuse, man.
Yeah, maybe they thought that, like the doctors, they thought that he did it to himself.
But I feel
They were
like
probably
there's like you need a level of investigation to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Just go home.
Yeah.
Dude. You know. You're a great writer.
Sorry.
You could have write about Dina, man. She might read your book and be like, yo, that was me.
I was like, hi.
I'm here.
It's like, bitch, I got a book about me.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I swear to God, this story has drained me of all my energy. The amount of emotion it took out from me. And my energy is like, I thought I did not have enough energy for this until now, wherein I'm like, This is 1%. This is what 1% of Nikki looks like. I'm just done. I need to recharge, man.
Dude, you can't because you have a story.
I know, right? I know. I just hope, since, there's no QA in this podcast. It's just like skim through it, and I feel like this is interesting, so we're gonna read it. And then as we're recording, we figure things out. And I'm a little scared to read this because I don't know what to expect. Also, I don't want to be reading any more romance novels.
Yeah, this one, I don't think this has romance.
No problem. I mean, like, nothing against romance, like, genre, right? I just wasn't prepared for it.
For the podcast.
Yeah. My mental state is like, oh, wait, hold on. Because my immature self is like, right up front here. This is not processing right.
Yeah.
Okay. So more ghost stories from Cambodia. This one's from Winston _Former. It's entitled Ghosts of Cambodia, the Old and the New. I need to breathe. I'm so full of air right now.
I think we'll only have 2 stories for this episode because the other one was long.
The other one was a roller coaster, man.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a shortage of locations where one might find a ghost these days. This is such a lie. Like, first sentence off, and this is already lying to your face.
Maybe he meant, like, in Cambodia.
Really, though, he's probably in the wrong places. The old theater on Main Street have been pulled down. Crumbling mansions on city fringes have given way to neon gas stations, and long-abandoned hospitals have met the wrecking ball. Sensible people everywhere have lost their superstition. Now every shadowy refuge is lit and exposed, and it's almost impossible to find the old trick of the eye. That tantalizing combination of history, atmosphere, and sinister movement that might conjure the restless dead. Nowadays, people who see the spectral shimmering of another world are taken for liars, or worse, humored as though, Jesus Christ, he couldn't use like a smaller word? I can't read this.
Go.
I have never come across this word my entire life. Beleaguered?
Yeah, beleaguered.
Beleaguered. What the fuck does that even mean? With some curious infirmity. Next time I really need to QA our shit because I can't be out here embarrassing myself.
Dude, that's part of creepy convos.
In Cambodia, I went ghost hunting. My destination was in an abandoned 1920s palace casino languishing atop the misty cliffs of Bokor Mountain. I sought the ghosts of 1,000 Cambodian prisoners who died as slaves to its grueling construction, or perhaps the despondent souls of French colonialists who threw themselves off the mountain after losing fortunes at roulette. Any pundit. I hate how colorful his vocabulary is. I need stupid jargons, please. And we're reading this while I don't have any more brain cells to process the whole thing. This is such. Ugh.
I mean, at least these aren't regular words compared to me where I stumble. Even like the word a light, I'm like, what word is that?
Any pundit with. I don't even think I'm pronouncing this right.
Yeah, it's right.
With a fascination for the abandoned, will know the infamous old casino, built high above the Gulf of Thailand and cutting through impossible jungle, was an ambitious development, and like all objects of grand ambition, it stood especially vulnerable. Stop laughing! I'm trying here.
I'll just cover my face with the microphone.
You're doing this on purpose because I was like laughing the whole time you were reading. I swear, creepers.
Jesus.
This story is scary. We're just like idiots.
Yeah.
And like all objects of grand ambition, it stood especially vulnerable to failure, being first abandoned in the 40s and then again permanently. When the Khmer Khmer
Yeah.
Khmer, what the fuck? Rouge embarked on its dreadful desecration. Since then, so I'd read, it's the decaying in the mist, its walls covered in graffiti, bullet holes, and red lynchen. What?
No.
Lichen? What the fuck is this word?
Wait, how is it spelled?
Oh my god, I can't. Lichen. It's like chicken.
Lichen.
What? What does that even mean?
That's like a moss. It's not really a moss, but that's what... You know the green things that grow on trees in the forest?
Right. Wait, sorry, how do I read this again?
Lichen. Dude, it's a miracle that I know that because I've been into like forests lately. Otherwise, I would have been like,
my story.
because this is the better one. Did you want to read the love story?
I think it would have been better for us. I don't know. Red lichen, the color of congealed blood. Congealed. Right.
Yeah. Welcome to us learning words.
Who wrote this?
Winston Former did.
We need to talk. You need to learn a few slangs here and there. Thank you very much. I took a beaten motorcycle west of Kampot in naturals. It says natural.
Dude, that is on you.
Oh my god, the fuck. I'd be so fucking amazed if the creepers still understand the whole story, because right now this is botched. We haven't even started and everything's just like, what? Okay. I took a beaten motorcycle west of Kampot on National Highway 3, followed an exit to the right, swerved around a deserted checkpoint, and started up the mountain. The bike screamed as I pulled the throttle, and the temperature dropped with elevation. Jungle grew thick and dark and encroached over the...
What now?
4 words. Bitumen? Bitumen? What the fuck is this word?
How does it
B-I-T-U-M-E-N.
I think it's bitumen. Bitumen. I think it's bitumen.
I hate this.
Let's just at that.
That.
It means pavement, though. The fuck?
Why? Honestly, why?
Like, it means it looks like asphalt.
Let's just say asphalt, okay? And roached
Yeah.
over the asphalt as swirling apparitions of vapor swept across my headlight. Whew. I passed the hideous colossus of Lok Ye Mao and Sihanouk's forgotten Black Palace Villa. I passed an ancient Buddhist monastery where teenage boys with shaven heads smiled and waved. I stopped and wandered through a ruined Catholic church, a fitting counterpoint to the nearby casino where Khmer Rouge soldiers made their pathetic last stand not too many years ago. I continued further to the old casino and I parked my bike and unclipped my helmet and stared at the looming structure. Some terrible tragedy had recently befallen the site. The ghosts of Bokor had all but vanished. A petroleum conglomerate called Sokimex Group bought a 99-year lease over the mountain. They loaded their trucks with cheap labor and dynamite. Then they built a massive luxury hotel. Then they walked down the road to the old casino and swept and scrubbed and reinforced foundations and rendered its walls in clean gray concrete. I walked from room to concrete room trying to recreate the former ruinous glory. My shoes were covered in white dust and an acrylic odor filled the air. Even in the fading light, I saw not a single specter of old French luxury. It felt lifeless, as though no one had ever sipped champagne on its balconies or made love in the presidential suite. As if no one had died within its walls, the gray cement spoke only of progress. Resigned to the realities of development, I drove to the new hotel and parked in a massive empty car park. The Sokimex construction is even more ambitious than its colonial predecessor. 500 rooms stretched up the mountains behind a casino with conference halls, shops, and restaurants. Armies of waiters, receptionists, and croupers stood stiffly behind desks and tables, and all wore well-trained smiles. Where am I? Ravel played softly over speakers. A chef in tall white hat stood at the entrance to a grand banquet room. I shook his hand, and he asked me where I was from, and he told me that the resort had only just opened, as if apologizing for the conspicuous lack of guests. A waiter with charcoal black eyes and unsettling vacancy showed me to a window table in the corner. Sorry, I feel like you're about to say something.
It's the same. Charcoal black eyes. You could have just said black, though.
They want it to be very specific. Like, This is how it...
He's very, like,
He's quite descriptive. I just wish he used, like, more familiar words.
Wait, I just realized I sent you the wrong story, but it's okay. Just continue.
What do you mean? We're not even halfway through this.
We are. Let's go. I opened the link that I sent you. Jesus.
Oh my god, this is so fun. I swear to god, this episode is like a hot mess.
I'm so sorry to all the Cambodians listening. We are a mess.
A waiter with charcoal black eyes and an unsettling vacancy showed me to a window table in the corner, and without sitting down, I walked to the buffet and poured a bowl of soup. Every table was empty, and it seemed an awful waste in the country where most people are hungry. Dining alone is the curse of the solo traveler. Why is it a curse? I love eating by myself.
Me too.
We like to talk about our nimble flexibility and our opportunities for self-reflection, but I'm yet to meet a loner on the road who claims to enjoy the scratching of his cutlery for conversation night after night. When the mechanical process of eating is done, the loner pays and leaves, and something always seems to be missing. I pushed a half-eaten petite four-way, but before I stood to leave, a fog descended on the lawn outside the window. Eddies of the mist swirled onto the glass and broke into smaller currents that ran into each other, creating new currents in new directions. I could see every tiny droplet, but nothing further. Behind me, I heard the faint rattle of a roulette ball on metal spokes, but when I concentrated, it wasn't there. And I wondered whether I heard it at all. When I turned around, the chef and the waiters were gone, and the room was empty. I called out, but no one answered. I walked to the doorway and waited in a wide hallway leading to the lobby and held my breath to hear any footsteps, but no one was approaching. I walked back into the banquet room and left $10 on the table. Steam rose from hot trays at the buffet, and ice slowly thawed under a bed of oysters, and the whole thing seemed out of place in the silence. I left the banquet room and walked through to the lobby. The front desk was empty. I walked in a wide circle to the foot of the grand stairs, but the grouper or concierge there was none. I walked very slowly to the doorway, and mechanical doors loudly permitted my exit. As I stepped out into the cool air, my stomach turned, and I felt ravenously hungry, as though I hadn't eaten all day. I walked briskly, half running, power walking, across the car to my bike and turned the engine. As I drove away, my headlight lit the ground ahead, and blood-red lichen stained the freshly laid concrete. What? That was it?
Yeah, sorry. I was like, I remember I sent a story that had the word tok tok in it, and I was like waiting for it. So I opened the link that I sent you, and I was like, oh, I sent you the wrong story.
You made me struggle for that. Yo.
I'm so sorry. I'm the reason why this whole episode is a mess. And the reason why Nikki had a hard time, because I did not look at the shit that I sent her. But yeah. How about let's have one last story? Do you want to read it?
No, I think my tongue is done after all of that.
This one is a longer story, but like,
I feel like the creepers need a better ending
yeah,
to this. Like, that was such a disservice to them. Like, I would have been okay with all the struggle and tripping over words if the story was like, fuck, this is creepy as hell, but that just felt like some dude who had a really shit night.
Yeah, he went into, like, I feel like he went into a hotel that wasn't really operational. Like, he was seeing the ghosts of the people. Yeah.
But it
anyway,
felt more melancholic than anything.
Yeah. It was a great story, but it wasn't...
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I love that it happened while we were quiet.
The disrespect this episode has.
We already had like the title for this, the disrespectful episode. I'm gonna write that down.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll read this one. I'll try to I'll power walk through the episode. So this was sent in by Scarjo. Whoa! Brooklyn Nine-Nine, full circle.
Yeah.
Anyway, because the power walking is like a thing from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and now Scarjo. Anyway, the open place in Cambodia. Jan had long since stopped replying to my emails. We just started this story, and I'm sorry. Whew. We both coped with Chris's death in different ways. She decided to withdraw entirely. She drowned her evenings in vodka, first the top shelf stuff, then the middle shelf. Before she stopped emailing, we moved on to the smaller off-brand bottles. The little wide, flat-shaped ones that cost less than a tenner. She'd said they were easier to hide in a jacket pocket. Me, I'd dive into the books, any article on the phenomena I could find. Anything to make it more clinical, more academic, more distant. Whatever it took me to make the swelling glow of that night see into something more, something less, just something else. The last thing I emailed to Jen was an article about a phytoplankton. See, these little bastards are packed full of chemicals called luciferin, and an enzyme called luciferase. See, I told Jen even the white coats knew to name this shit after the devil. And when you put them together, boom, light. We'd first heard of them when we arrived in Cambodia. Tok tok, I asked. See, the first few times you hear those words being shouted at you by the locals on the street will not be met with a not today, thanks, or a polite no, I'm all right. This was the first few times. No, I said with an obnoxious drawl like a bored 14-year-old. By now, I'd been traveling for 3 months. To be honest, if you ever sat in a student bar, you've already come across me and my story. I had the scraggly hair and the loose green vest top with a faded emblem of a Southeast Asian beer. And even the little braided friendship bracelet I would tell people was given to me by one of the children in the village I volunteered at. I'd actually bought it from a particularly pushy sales tramp for an absurd fee because she wouldn't leave me alone and I was too polite to tell her to fuck off. Also, this is true though, in Cambodia, they are very pushy. If you go to like the tourist spots, they are pushy. Maybe like the places that we went to, what they were, but yeah. Anyway, I think I even once mentioned out loud and everything about wanting to find myself, but every new country showed me that no, I couldn't grow a beard, and yes, I miss playing Mario Kart. The temples were beautiful, the roads were exciting, and the food was incredible, but day by day, the dirt and the noise ground me down. I had been in Hanoi when I met Chris and Jen trying to find one of the drinking roads, where tiny plastic stools and tables spilled out into the road and beer was only 20p. And had decided to go get good and drunk. Upon arrival, however, it was far cry from the precocious party street I was hoping for, and more like a depressing scene from a Vietnamese reimagining of Cheers. All surly?
I think that's it.
Yeah, all surly locals drinking to their budget with no particular fondness of foreigners seeking out the novelty in their poverty. Looking for a place to sit or, better, a friendly face, I saw them. Chris and Jen. Chris, the 6'3" German hunk with receding dark hairline confidently and handsomely shaved down to a bristle, and Jen, his British girlfriend, a short and buxom brunette Geordie, with a barmaid cuteness and a loud, infectious laugh. He beckoned me over with a wide grin, and I didn't hesitate to take the offer. We spent the evening swapping stories from our travels and agreed to buddy up for the next leg of the trip. I was to be in Cambodia. It was easier to haggle prices of taxis in such bigger numbers. So 2 weeks later, we found ourselves in Cambodia, capital of Phnom. No, I really don't know how to pronounce this, even though I already looked it up. Phnom Penh. Tuk tuk. I sometimes wonder what might have happened had we taken the first tuk-tuk that was pushed at us outside our hotel. The one we could hire to drive us around for the day to see all the sights. Possibly it wouldn't have made a difference, but there's always the butterfly effect question of which little decision it was that sent us down the path that saw me watch Chris scream into the deep. Had we hired him for the day, maybe we wouldn't have been as tired in the end. Maybe the time we saved would have meant that we would have been able to see the royal palace in its regal splendor. Maybe our moods would have been lighter by the end of the day and we wouldn't have needed the escape. Maybe ended up in a different bar on a different street. Maybe we would have seen the advert. Maybe we didn't take the tuk-tuk. We decided to walk. We decided to see the TripAdvisor top 2 places to see in Phnom Penh. 2 museums dedicated to the genocidal horrors of Pol Pot's communist regime. We walked to the school that had been converted into a torture chamber, and we walked for 2 goddamn hours to see the killing fields. By the end, we were drained, physically and mentally. The horrors of the Khmer Rouge sunk in further for every step of the 10-kilometer journey, only to get compounded by seeing the actual tree they used to execute babies. We were far away from the little plastic stool that we shared our travel stories. Defeated and humbled, we slunk into a little bar by the side of the Mekong River. God knows what it was. Happy something. There's irony for you. I had reached my absolute limit. I needed a break. Something non-historical, something non-horrendous. I needed a beach and a cocktail and to not think about being murdered by my glasses because my glasses made me look too smart. It was there that I saw a poster on the wall, a laminated copy, faded till it was mostly on the blue ink that survived. A stock photo of a speedboat proudly invited us to visit Koh Sing. Relax on the beaches, snorkel the reefs, swim with the stars in Plankton Bay. Ambitious, I thought, that they thought this shitty flyer would be attracting many celebrities. Still, the boat was a mere $10, and it said we could rent a cabin or camp. We agreed to leave as soon as possible. The boat itself was, let's just say, not the same luxurious speedboat shown in the flyer. Rickety planks off faded redwood split over rusted nail. A makeshift seating area was really nothing more than a few thin foam mattress, and the kind you used to do PE on back in primary school, spread over raised wooden platforms. The foreign tourists laid out, one guy actually reading Into the Wild, seemingly without irony, with their Kindles and water bottles, while a smattering of locals kept to the back of the boat through some unspoken and uncomfortable agreement that presumably involved a cheap journey if they were seen and not heard. Luckily, their excitable children paid such backward customs no heed and gleefully clambered over everything in their football shirts. Still, there was a cooler box of cold local beers for $1 piece and perched on the rim of the boat. You could sun your legs and take in the rolling coastline. Upon arrival, though, any fears melted away. It was nothing short of idyllic. Truly the postcard image of a post-tropical paradise. Hammocks swung between trees. Strong fruity cocktails were being served. The menu was all burgers and pizzas rather than honey-coated crickets. You know what? I went to Cambodia. They never served honey-coated crickets.
I mean, there's probably a place for it because it's also not surprising to be serving like insects.
Yeah, but I feel like that's like only in one place. That's not their regular food.
I don't
there.
think so too. Like it's probably the equivalent to our barbecues, but like ours is not as exotic as that.
Yeah. He's probably exaggerating. I was happy to kick back and actually chill out for a bit, but Chris was still chasing his experiences. "When does the Plankton tour begin?" asked Chris, picking at the label on his beer. Ah, friend, we have to wait until sundown. We'll leave about 6 p.m. to take boat to the open place, replied the guide. The open place? Yes, friend, the open place. It is where they swim. It was barely midday. I spent the next few hours working my way through the cocktail menu. They were sweet and strong and cold. By 4 p.m., I was feeling their effects and decided to ease off. Drunken swimming was not fun. That's true. You get more drunk, right?
Yeah.
If you swim drunk.
I just want to be like in the water, but not necessarily swimming.
A moving water, right? Like I would
just
rather
there,
be
yeah.
in a pool, than in the beach
Yeah.
if I'm drunk. Chris had barely nursed his way through 2 beers and Jen was taking a nap. But eventually the sun gave way to a beautiful pink sunset and we were herded into a small tour boat. Maybe big enough for 20 and barely half full. There was us, an old German couple, 2 French backpacking girls, and 3 Australian guys. It's always like some Australian that's like backpacking somewhere.
That's their thing.
Like that's their stereotype.
Yes. Nothing against it, but it's just that.
Yeah. We set off as the sky darkened. As the pitch black crawled over the water, something slightly magical happened. Slowly but surely, the foam and the spit of the water churned up the boat seemed to start to sparkle. At first, I presumed it was just a trick of the light. Some fleck of the sun caught in a water drop, but the darker it got, the more obvious it was. The sea was literally beaming. The tiny little plankton disturbed by boat were exploding into light. Luciferin was mixing with luciferase, and these tiny specks of nothing danced in their own light. By the time we reached the open place, it was pitch black. The lights atop the boat did nothing to pollute the light, and the stars filled the sky. I'm trying to think of ways to describe the dark, but I can't. And it's that kind of dark that almost seems light again. Light because once the glare and the shine and the reflections and everything else are gone, you can see again. They jumped in, but I didn't. Something about jumping into water I couldn't see the bottom of. Same.
This is a sensible person right here.
Yes. Instead, I inched down the coarse metal ladder draped over the side of the boat. I'd love to be able to say that I swam and danced and swirled around amongst the specks of joy, appreciating the way that nature danced. But honestly, I love to say I gazed across the still night water and couldn't tell between the specks of light in the darkness, where the night sky ended and the dark sea began. I didn't do any of that. I pretended to throw fireballs. I traveled the world, eaten a snake's heart, and drank I think he meant soju, on a Seoul hotel rooftop. And deep down, I was still the same 13-year-old I'd always been. Through all of this, I didn't feel the first sting. Once the novelty shouting Hadouken at imaginary characters wore off, I took in the sights of my swirling hands through the water and watching the trailing glow like a hand-sized comet tail that followed every move. The change was subtle at first. It's weird, you're surprisingly good at detecting tiny changes in how something moves. My dad loved a story about when he worked on a truck that delivered beer kegs and had to collect empty ones. His mate on the deck was throwing the empty kegs at him to catch. He looked up the last one thrown and saw the tiny change in the arc, a minuscule alteration in the flight path. He instinctively moved rather than try to catch it and watched the full keg crack on concrete, his idiot co-worker grinning at his prank. It was that kind of tiny change. The specks didn't move exactly as they should. There was a fraction of resistance, a slither of independence, an infinitesimal scratch of agency. I felt the next sting, back of my hand, down my ring finger. 2 more stings, back of my knee, under the armpit. 3 more, top of the shoulder, inner thigh, all the places I needed to swim. The sea was suddenly dark. the stars fractionally less easy to see. Deep down below us, a glow emerged. First green, then blue. Something deep was stirring. Back to the boat now was all it took to break the spell. I broke for the ladder. Every time my arm came above the surface of the water, it was speckled with bursts of light. Clinging, biting, burning. The glow below grew and swelled and moved in a singular purpose. A sway left and a dart right, and then a focused expansion. No, not an expansion, a surfacing. I kept pounding my limbs into the water, each a splash of burst of light. I closed the mile-long meters as fast as possible and threw myself into the ladder, wrenching myself upwards so hard it took the skin from my water-wrinkled palms. Cuffing and spluttering on the deck, pulling and clawing at the still stinging patches of light on my arms, I glanced over the deck. Chris was still in the water. Jen already back on the boat. None of the other guests could be seen. Chris held his arms in front of him, but they were barely arms now. The coating of light brought out every detail of Chris's disappearing flesh. Uneven, bumpy holes poke his forearms as the glow from the depths swelled towards him. His shocked eyes looked up from the mess of his flesh and met mine for one last time, before the deep glow surged up around him and covered him in one final blinding wave. With Chris gone, the glow sank down again, back into the depths of which it had come. The light faded. The stars came back out. The water regained its stillness. The last few specks of light in my body died, leaving the whole boat in shocked, stunned silence. Through the calm of the night, the music from the beach bar wafted over to us, and the waves, too small to be seen, lapped like kittens at the hull. They blamed the disappearances and the day drinking. Just a few more drunken tourists dying of stupidity abroad. Luciferin and Luciferes and something in the deep.
What the fuck happened, though? It feels like it's poison or something. It's like lava. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like, I feel like that it looks like, you know those glowing things that you see in like, I think that's in Hawaii, where when the waves like hit it glows like kind of like blue and shit like that.
Yeah.
But it had something else.
I thought at first he meant algae, because those, like, some algae do that. They glimmer in the light and shit. But it felt like it was melting their skin. So what the fuck was that?
Yeah. I feel like it's, what do you call that? A mythical creature in Cambodia, but it's not really mythical. It just comes out every now and then.
This is why I hate the water. Like, as much as I want to be a mermaid, I just can't.
Yeah, the water is scary, especially if you like look down and you can't see what's below. Like,
yeah,
I'd rather not. I'd rather like stay on land. I'd rather swim in the beach where I can see.
You're just there.
What's below me? Yeah. So that's it. If you guys know what type of mythical creature that is, I chose that story because it's like different from like the other stories.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's more believable as well, because it's like you can't really explain it, and plus,
yeah, you wonder like how many times has this happened, and then they just like blamed it on like being drunk and shit.
I know, right? Oh my god, that's so scary though, because like, how do you even explain that to the families? Or do the families even care? No, because I feel like a lot of backpackers, like especially the
don't have families,
the Western ones, they don't really give a shit. It's not like the Asian families where it's like they always, even when you're 30 years old and over, your parents would still be like,
parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Here, it's very normal to still live with your family until you're like, until they die.
Yeah. So
But
that's
yeah,
what,
if you,
sorry.
yeah. No, I was about to like end it. Like,
Yeah,
if
we
you guys
should.
have stories, please send it to us at creepyconversations.com or creepyconvos at Twitter and Facebook and Creepy Conversations on Instagram. And subscribe to us on Spotify and iTunes and wherever you listen to us, and rate, review, subscribe.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you want to see videos of this episode and other bonus content, follow us. Subscribe to us on patreon.com/creepyconvos. And thanks for creeping, you fucking creeper.
And remember, there could be something in the water that's watching you.
Bye.
Bye.